Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blank Gates. Welcome to, I think it's day 97, or is it day number 98? It's got to be day number 98. 98, 90. I should check, but I'm sure you know, and I'm sure you can find the day in the description below, where you can also find a link if you'd like to talk to me face to face. So we have, all right, so what are we doing in the last section of this 101 day challenge? So we talked about 3 checklists that can help you to manage people by helping you to understand their attitude toward work regarding how much effort they put in and how much success they are getting out of that effort. We talked about different work styles and how you could probably alter those work styles or use those work styles as like to help you think about different alternative ways of doing work. We talked about some different types of purposes that might motivate individuals. And then we moved from working with people to, from a managerial perspective, to going to a partnership or a teamwork situation where we started out with the state teamwork checklist where we discuss who is going to be working together, what are the reuses they want, what are the outcomes that they want, what are the ways that they are going to support each other, and who else is in their company, what other types of services are required in order for this teamwork to work, or operational agreement, or generally just a partnership, just working together. And then so what we did from there is sometimes as you write down what people want and the reuses that they want and how you're going to support each other, you can begin to find some areas where you'd like to further discuss some specific issues. And as you start to discuss those things, what can be helpful is using the state inventiveness checklist. The state inventiveness checklist will give you a bunch of themes to help you think outside of the box, and it will also give you ways to think about things in general. It'll give you different themes that you can use to promote ideas, especially in brainstorming or in meetings when you're talking to these partners. From there, we went to the state assumptions checklist where we have to start to do research. So usually when you start to discuss some kind of aspect, we want to do this or we want to do that, then you then have to go and do the research. There is a lot of research that has to be done in order for you to inform your assumptions so that you can make the right decision. Now, as you do that research, one of the assumptions that you are going to have to work with is to decide how much impact a decision could make. And so we went to the state impact checklist in order to frame the context, look at a variety of scenarios, try to understand the differences between different scenarios, and then to choose metrics about what is the most important principles or factors behind this decision, and then apply them to the differences between scenarios. All right, and then yesterday we started out with the center column of these 3 pillars of these checklists, and it's to develop projects. And I started out by talking about the state progress checklist. Now, the thing about the state progress checklist, as you know, it's also connected to the 3 endeavor elements. Every project, there is some aspect of trying to develop potential, forming some kind of agenda or plan, and then eventually you have to implement those decisions. And so the state progress checklist gives you 9 specific areas to kind of pull apart all the aspects of your project. So we are still there. Now, today's checklist is a state synergies checklist. So how do we fit the state synergies checklist into the state progress checklist? All right, so when we talk about shaping potential, we're at the bottom, right? We're in the shape potential area, which means what? It means talking about involving resources, talking about guiding interactions, and talking about guiding, creating motivation. Now, let's just, from a general perspective, if we look at the shaping potential area, how else can that shape potential area connect to other checklists? All right, so if we're talking about excite motivations, then probably we are talking about what? We're talking about the relationships between people within our organization as we work together as a team, but it could also be with partners and providers and different other companies? How can we excite motivations on that side of the business? So we have this state purposes checklist, which you can use in order to help you to understand how to motivate people. You can also connect the state drive checklist into this area to just kind of look at who you're working with and then start to characterize the attitudes that these different people have. How much effort do they put into their work? How successful are they at their work? And then how can we develop this potential further? You could also look at work styles. So the state styles checklist, you could also plug into this this area of shaping potential in the area of guiding, excite motivations and guide interactions. All right, because the interactions, there may be different work styles associated with these different interactions. Now, you can also connect the shape potential area to these, the checklist that we talked about for how partners work with other partners. All right, so think about state teamwork. So state teamwork directly, you're talking about how different people are working with other people. So you're guiding interactions. This is a specific checklist that talks about guiding these interactions. And of course, you can also talk about state. Now, the idea of being inventive or creating innovation in itself is an idea of shaping potential. So we have some potential, and then how can we shape that potential? All right, so you can see how a lot of these other checklists that we've already talked about connect to the shape potential area of the state progress checklist. And that is also true of what we're talking about today. So today with the state synergy, basically you want to spot the opportunities for cooperation. Now, just even the idea, if you think about the idea of spotting the opportunity to cooperate, that means that you see potential. There is the potential to cooperate. If we cooperate, there is some positive outcome that we can work toward. And in the process of cooperating, we can develop some kind of partnership which will bring some kind of product or service to the market. We can get better outcomes by synergizing, by working together. Now, the good thing, one of the benefits of this checklist is that it kind of like pulls apart the different types of synergies. And then in addition, it uses this theme or typical activity of, for example, so if you talk about clients, then the key word is to serve the clients. And I think it's important because it can help people to change their attitude. Because, it's like, well, who's the boss here? It's our company, it's our product. We're the ones that are, we're in charge here. It's like, well, maybe, but, maybe you could also change that attitude around and think of it more like serving the client, because your clients will be much happier if you see them as somebody that you are going to serve. How about peers? So peers, they could be people within your own organization. They could also be people that are working in the same sector as you. They could even be competitors to some extent. Like obviously they're not clients because they're not purchasing things from you. They're not providers because they're not really providing things for you, but they're in the same sector. They're kind of doing the same things and you're kind of working together, but not necessarily for money. So how can you aid your peers? Serve clients, aid peers. So you're getting the idea. It's like, well, let's look at the next one. So now with providers, it's the same thing. So we have clients, those are the people that we serve. They give us money. We have our peers. There's not necessarily money between us. Sometimes we share information. Sometimes we give moral support. Sometimes we work together to get things done. We aid peers. And then providers, we help providers. Now, what's the, serve, aid, help? Those are kind of the same word, right? So the providers, help your providers. So if you want better service from your provider, figure out ways to help your provider. I think that this should be able to help us to kind of turn our attitudes around when it comes to the business world and figure out how to make people happy. All right, now we can also discuss not just these different types of entities, but we can also talk about how they change over time. So when we begin when we are planning, when we are shaping potential, when we're looking at the possibility of projects, we may be communicating with certain people. And then as we begin the process of planning those projects, then we might be talking to completely different people. And then as we start to put the product out into the marketplace, we might be communicating with different people. There could be different opportunities to cooperate in all these different areas of doing business. And then finally, we have other synergies. So how does it affect other synergies? So the idea is to try to broaden the scope of your endeavors. Try to think beyond what you're currently doing. Try to figure out new ways to serve your clients. Find ways to aid your peers, and also think of ways to help your providers. Because that way there will be a change over time, because you'll be able to reuse the results from your projects. You'll be able to broaden the scope of your projects, and you'll be able to foster cooperation. And I think that as we start to work more, as you get older in your career, you start to see how this social capital is an important part of doing business. But at the same time, you can also merge skills. You can also merge methods. Maybe you realize that there's some peers that actually they can provide more. They can do more for you. Or maybe there's some providers and there's some synergy for helping them or matching them with somebody else, maybe one of your peers, or helping your clients. So there's all different ways that you can begin to think about how to bring these different people together in order to guide interactions. Now, in addition to shaping potential, you will also use these different people, like I said, in the planning process. And then you're also going to be working with these different people after you start to create effects. So this has been a review of the State Synergies checklist. You've seen how we have been able to plug in some of the other checklists within the State Progress checklist. And you can also see how this checklist fits within the State Progress checklist. So I wish you good luck in all of your endeavors. This is Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates.